This is Fam Electric Ghost, and we're live with BRYNJA. I got your name right?
Kind of, BRYNJA.
BRYNJA. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm American. I kind of screwed things up. But
Nice.
yeah, you're from the Netherlands, and we're happy to have you on the program. We've been on the air this year doing these live video podcasts, but prior to that, we've been doing audio podcasts since 2018 on Anchor FM and Spotify and Apple. So we're glad to have you here on our new adventure into video podcasting.
Yeah, nice to be here. I'm from Iceland. I just wanted to correct that. I'm from Iceland.
You're from Iceland.
Mm-hmm, but I'm in the Netherlands at the moment. I live here and I have a studio here.
Okay.
Working on my music here. So yeah.
Well, we can correct that because we put down like Netherlands, where you get based on where you're living now, but you're actually from Iceland.
Yeah.
That's cool. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. So you have a brand new single, which everybody can see the link here.
Yeah.
Where in this link will go to like where it's being played on the net, like on Spotify and all the other places they could play. And then also we're going to talk about a video you have on YouTube called Lightheaded. And so we're going to get into that. We actually probably what we like to do with our artists is actually show people their music video on YouTube, because I think on the audio program, we would talk about music and we get into depth, but we never actually showed or played the music on the program. So we think it's what we've been doing this year is actually play the music so people get an idea before we start to talk to the artist about like what you're about. And so the visual, helps. So we're gonna cue it up so you can see the video right here for Lightheaded. It's gonna be coming up, and we're gonna put you on mute, and then we'll get back to on the back end of the video. We'll start to talk about your single and also like all your music, how you got into music and everything like that.
Great, sounds good.
Thank you.
Really wanna get to know you better. Would you mind? Tell me everything, it's been forever. What did you find? You light up a smoke, thing you didn't do before. Tell me you broke it off with the one you were getting on with. Piece off his bed, found on your way. On with a date, been there before. Dreadlocks and talking. You want it more, too much right now. We just don't care. Whatever was there before you, my babe, seems to disappear in days. Reason I could stay for one more day. Happiness reflects in my face. Forget my worries for a while. You're tight. Ain't nothing I hate, only a smile. Baby, getting straight to my head. You sound like a love song. I wanna write it down. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do you hear the sound? You're looking good, standing on your balcony, knocking on wood, living in a fantasy. Wind in your hair, under moonlight, minute to spare, moment is right. You sit and smoke when you're a dancer. When you get old, you make it rise now. We just don't care. Whatever was there before. nothing out there ahead, only a smile. Baby, getting straight to my head. There's so much misery every day I see. But darling, who can we be to fix it here? Words won't begin to describe what you do to me. What you do to me. Whatever was there before in my way seems to disappear in a haze. Reason I could stay for one more day. Happiness reflects in my gaze. Forget my worries for a while. You're done. Ain't nothing there, only a smile. Baby, getting straight to my head.
So that was the video for Lightheaded, and now we're back.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, I like. So that was the cherry blossoms, right? Cherry trees.
Yeah.
Where was that filmed? Where was that filmed?
That's okay. I'm just gonna acknowledge we have a visitor, Graham James. He's a musician sharing the studio with me. He's really good. You should check him out. He's dropping something off. Yeah, so it's filmed here in the Netherlands. I was actually looking for like a nice spot because actually in Iceland we don't have like beautiful cherry blossoms like this. So after I moved to the Netherlands, I just had it in my mind that I really had to do something. I had to use them for something. I had to use them for like a photo shoot or music video or something. So yeah. So this was last year that this was shot. And that year I thought, okay, I'm going to be ready. Like I'm going to shoot a music video. And yeah, I thought this song was like perfect for that because it's basically a song about just feeling good and kind of like when you're floating. Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, you have a lot of exuberance. I like the video because it's very positive and you seem really happy and you're just kind of like running or kind of like jaunting through the field, the cherry blossoms, and it's very positive. It's beautiful, and then you have like your exuberance and your attitude is very positive. You know, in a world today where there's so much like things that are kind of down.
Exactly.
Makes you happy. You know, it's a very happy video, and it's a very positive video. It's got beauty in it. It's got your personality, you got your smile, and you're just exuberant, and you're just like, you know, in the moment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I lived in Tokyo, and Tokyo is famous for their cherry blossoms.
Oh, yeah.
And I should have filmed it. I was there for like 2 years, and I never thought to like film it. I was like,
do something with it. Yeah. Exactly.
I would go there, and it's like, I'm like, now I'm back here. I'm like, oh, well, I probably should have filmed that. I say, then I see your video, and I'm like, man, I really should have filmed it.
Man, it was so pretty. Like I was looking for the right spot. Me and Bob Shellens, who shot the video, and we were in the car, and I was so car sick, so I was like sitting, like dying, basically in the back seat of the car. And then I sat up, I saw this perfect spot. It was like in a dream, just like this garden, basically with like these cherry blossoms, and it was like the perfect moment. And we checked it out, contacted the owners. They had their like number there, so yeah, it was just this perfect spot. Really, it's like in a dream.
Yeah, I think the video is just amazing. It just has a lot of power in terms of its beauty. And so So now we're gonna get into where you are today, and you got your new single for Easy. But before you even get into that, so we're talking about your background. You're in acoustic folk music. You're an Icelandic singer-songwriter that you're living in the Netherlands. And you've kind of got this kind of like, dream kind of pop, I would say. And you've got this Nordic folk kind of vibe and an R&B vibe. Kind of reminds me a little Bjork, a little bit of like Waterflower, who I also interviewed. And just even like the kind of vibe I get from like Tori Amos. The kind of sound that you have. Not that I just like to listen to all types of music. So I kind of hear a little Kate Bush, a little, just the feel, the vibe of where you are. It's kind of that dream, kind of progressive nature of music.
Do you think I have like similar accent to Björk?
I don't know. I think more like the feel.
Oh wow, sweet.
I like the feel and the sound. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good compliment. I'm a big fan.
Well, I'm into a lot of different types of music. Because I'm an electronic music producer, I've actually talked to a lot of artists from the Netherlands and Iceland in the last 2 years, just because they seem to be into the type of electronic music or the vibe I'm into, with the kind of dream pop. It's just a feel. I mean, it kind of like I was big time into like Brian Eno and Bowie. And the kind of Kraftwerk sound. That's kind of where I started. But anybody that kind of comes off a new romantic and gets into modern electronic, kind of like I'm always interested because I'm a synthesist. I'm a synthesizer player, so I'm always looking for new sounds.
And do you sing? Do you sing
I actually sing in my music, but I kind of play with my voice. I use vocoders. So the lead singer of my band is actually a character called Josephine Electric, which is me, but she's a vocoder created in real time. That's my voice turned into like a soprano female version of myself. So all those songs actually have her singing the lead. I mean, I have some of them with my voice, but I do a lot of like progressive electronic music. But so getting into your background though, I always ask people like where they start, because we'll get into Easy a little bit more. But when did you first get into music? Like what age?
That was kind of late actually. So I was 20, and my parents, they thought that I had like musical ear. So at a very early age, when I was 3, I did the violin. So I practiced the violin, and then we moved to another city, or like. We actually only have one city in Iceland, so we moved to another place in Iceland, basically, where they didn't have a violin teacher, but they had a piano teacher. So I did some piano there, and then we moved to Reykjavik, the big capital city. And there I did clarinet.
Oh, clarinet! That's interesting. I actually started on clarinet.
Oh, okay, cool.
But then I found it was like it's not a good writing instrument. It's a good like ensemble instrument, but if you want to write, like I switched to keyboard and guitar.
Guitar. That's great for writing.
Because I wanted to write. And then I actually found that my brother was better at guitar than I was, and we had a band. So I switched to keyboard, and I found that keyboards were like that's the core. Like everybody knows that today with their MIDI keyboards and their DAWs. And like if you have a MIDI keyboard and a DAW, you can write anything.
Definitely, it's so easy. Pun.
But I think it's like having that basis of learning how to play piano. I think it helps if you're going to be a producer, because then when you get on your MIDI controller, then you might have more inventive chord, structures, and you might the voicings. You might realize that you can do certain things. I think once you learn that kind of theory, that helps.
Yeah, I feel like. I wasn't into it at all. So I remember my piano teacher was always telling me that I should look at the notes, because I learned it by head.
Yeah.
And then
I played.
People do that. Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't I feel like I didn't learn a lot of theory actually, like notes and I probably
Yeah.
learned some basics, but yeah, I just
A lot of it's feel when you're a songwriter, in my opinion. Like
yeah.
if you think about the African American tradition from the blues to jazz, most of the people can't read. You know, they don't read sight music. It's all feel.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know,
Totally.
and when you learn theory, it's cool to know theory.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you might learn certain voicing that you'll learn the Beatle chords. You know,
Yeah,
learn,
that's how.
you know,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
it's like,
true.
okay, that's a little more better than a minor chord or something. But
Yeah.
what happens, I think, is like if you're a musician, you just have that inside you. You like you tap into the ether, you tap into the muse, and you'll figure out how to get the sound.
Exactly.
And usually you'll find people to help you get the sound. And so like some of the greatest musicians in the world, they can't sight read.
Yeah, totally.
But Hendrix couldn't sight read, you know.
Yeah. I think for me, if my parents would have gotten me into something more creative with music, I don't know if that's even like, what's it called, Suzuki?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that? Yeah, I feel like I would have needed something more creative because I got no pleasure from having to read notes and studying.
Yeah, I think
and
the way people
like
learn
that.
music sometimes is such it can actually turn a lot of kids off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I learned, you know, like on a clarinet playing a bunch of classical stuff, which you know,
wow.
if you're like, but you know, but if you're young, you're like, well, I want to listen to like disco, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I grew up in the '70s, so I'm playing all this Bach and Beethoven, and I'm like, well, I rather learn some Michael Jackson, and the teacher's like, no, we're not doing that. And I'm like, okay.
Michael Jackson on the clarinet, that'd be cool.
Yeah, well, there's something different, and I think that's what turns off kids sometimes from musical education because they're just so rigorous, and sometimes, and then people, you know, they want to do what they like, you know, they want to listen.
Yeah, definitely.
They want to do EDM, or they want to do something that has nothing to do with that, you know. You have to go to like college to learn to get anywhere near that. So like a lot of people end up just teaching themselves or learn from the radio or learn from, like, you know, what they see or what they hear or what they like.
Yeah, there should be more education on music based on that, on the like interest of kids, basically.
I mean, if you take you know, like it's like kind of like the blues guys. Like I've read stories about great bluesmen, right? They all kind of would just like sneak into these clubs when they were like 14 or 13, and then watch like Lead Belly or watch Robert Johnson and these young kids that became blues players. They kind of like they ran out of their house, they snuck into these clubs in the 30s and the 40s, and they sat there and they listened to these guys, right? And then they just emulated them because they were so into it. And it was always kind of like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that because they're sneaking out of their house. You know, they're going into a place they're not supposed to be. But it's the drive of the music kind of drives you to get into that kind of zone where you're I want to do this. I don't care if my parents don't want me to do it.
It makes it exciting, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. For you, so you realized later in life that you had you wanted to do this music. So who were your influences? Who did you look up to? As
my friends actually. Basically, so like I did all this like clarinet, violin, piano, but then I just didn't enjoy it. So I got into dancing, and that's where I found my passion. And that's where I got to like express myself, and I like that felt so like freeing. So for a while, like I was determined that I wanted to be a dancer. But then, so at the like right after my 20th birthday, basically, my friend. She was my classmate. We weren't really like super close at the time, so this was all very random. Basically, she was going to join this street theater in Norway for a month, and there was a spot that opened up, and she asked me if I wanted to join, and I had to make a decision very spontaneously. I had like a summer job and everything, so I don't know. This is like the biggest decision in my life. Like it changed my life so much. I decided to go to the street theater, and we were in the middle of the woods in Norway. And we had very little internet, and we had no like there was no cinemas, no stores, no fun like activities that I was like used to. Like I was really, yeah. So we were there in the woods with a lot of like hippies, and we were like doing like running bare feet in the forest, doing exercises. And so my friend, she played guitar and she wrote songs and she was in this band. And I don't know, like she just inspired me so much. And she asked me actually in the first week if I wanted to do second harmony with her. And I was like, whoa, I can try. Let's see what I can do. And then we performed for everybody there. And I just realized that I kind of enjoyed it. And I decided to use the opportunity while I was there with like so much free time. I decided to pick up her guitar from time to time, and I learned, like you were saying, I found some Beatle chords, and I just like learned to play like a few songs, and I played so badly, really, like it took me so long to like switch between the chords.
Well, everybody, you got that starting point. I remember when I picked up my keyboard, and nobody wanted to hear me at all for like a couple months because it's like,
of course, yeah.
What is that? And like my brother, it's hard.
Horrible.
It's like trying to get it in tune. He's like just learning. Our big moment was when we figured out how I could actually tune him up. Right, when we actually figured out how to tune the guitar against the keyboard.
Yeah.
And then once we started getting in sync, because me and my brother we kind of got into music, like the situation that you were working with your friend doing the second harmony, and then we got in sync. And then once we got in sync, we found a drummer, and we found some other guys, and then then it kind of starts somewhere. And then,
of course,
you start with your friend, or you start with your brother or your sister or something. But like I think it's the passion, because you got to work through that moment. Like how many people start an instrument and then they say, "Well, I can't do it," right?
Yeah, totally.
And then you get the people who are like, "I really want to do this. I need to do it," right? Because it's something that it's inside you, right? You want to get this music out, and so you kind of work on it until you can get it out.
Yeah, and you have to believe in yourself. Like nobody's gonna do that for you.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
maybe if you're lucky, but
well, sometimes you get somebody that will support you. Somebody finds you, and then tries to build you up, like a talent scout or something, finds you, and then sees something in you. And then you get stories where people like, oh, they got found, and then maybe they didn't believe it, but their talent scout or their manager believed it. But it's interesting. So you found this kind of hippie commune type of thing, and then you found a friend that wanted you to play like singing, and then you started to do the guitar. So then from there you just started to like probably just even further take your ideas. Had you been writing like poetry, or had you been writing your own music? When did you kind of figure out that you wanted to do your lyrics and songs?
So basically so I was there for a month. And the day that I think, like this whole experience made such a big impact on me. And I like met my first boyfriend there, like, I don't know, just fell in love for the first time. And so I came back home to Iceland, and I sat down with the guitar, because I remember this feeling like I just felt like this was my box back in Iceland. This was who I was. I was like, I'm Brynja. These are my friends. This is what I do. And I like thought I knew who I was. And then I went to Norway, and I felt like my shape changed. And then I came back home, and like I didn't fit into my shape anymore. And
do you find like being a creative person that like people who aren't creative people sometimes like they don't understand it? Because like I found that like because I have every musician sometimes has a day job or whatever they do, they got to do. But it's like, but your passion is your music, right? And then people who are not like creatives, sometimes they look down on creative people, or they say, well, that's just a hobby, or like, what are you doing? Did you get that kind of resistance from people, or you just like were able to push beyond it?
Not really. I guess actually like I remember that first night that I came home, and I wrote a song. and I don't know, it's so weird. I had no idea where that came from. It just came. I just had a song, and you probably have that as well. When you're writing, that you just it just seems like a lightning strikes, and all of a sudden you have a song. But of course, other times it's different. Other times you try really hard and it doesn't come. You know, like you try really hard to write.
But when you're writing, what do you think? Do you like when you work? Do you feel like the things that just come, like you just said? Sometimes as a musician, what I find is like things just come to me, and they're almost like totally the whole form of it, right? I can't really explain why, because I'll go onto my keyboard and suddenly I have this progression I didn't even know it was there, right? And then I just had it, and then suddenly I have these lyrics. And then it kind of just like, I don't know where that came from. It's like came from the muse, you know. Like it is like it seems like creative people, we can tap into something that might already be there, or we're part of it and we're the missing part, and then somehow you sync it up and then it's there, you know.
Totally. So that's how I felt like that first summer, basically. Like I just I had no ambition to be a musician at all. Like that was not on my plan, basically. So all of a sudden, like I had like this very poor guitar knowledge, like, but somehow from that I was able to like write songs. And like that summer, it just totally felt like it came out of nowhere, and I felt like I was not writing those songs. And I think that's my best creations. I think that's my best songs, the ones that I just kind of don't even remember writing. Like it wasn't me writing with the intention of writing. It just like somehow, it's a beautiful thing, a beautiful moment when you experience that.
I think we always try, you know, what I find as I get older as a musician, I tend to let that happen. I think when I was younger, and I had like a band, and we'd schedule like a rehearsal, and we're kind of like forcing ourselves to write, right? And then we were like, okay, a lot of that stuff was no good, and then we're like, and then we're like, then what would happen is like we'd go home, everybody go home, and then they write like a demo, and those ended up being better than the kind of forced kind of we should write. We got 2 hours tonight on a Friday night, let's write something, and then they wouldn't come. And then sometimes like, we just do something, play something live, and then somehow we came up with a new song during a live performance. And then we say, hey, that's what we should work on, right? It seems like when you try to be too deliberate as a musician, sometimes unless you're like Bach or Beethoven or something, like it's hard to like just sit there and write it. When you're trying to like say you're gonna write it.
That's true, but I think totally. But I think I've been learning like recently, because to begin with, I just wrote, you know, it just kind of came so naturally to me. And then after some time, I felt like the inspiration kind of stopped hitting me, so I stopped writing for a bit. But then I think a lot of good things can also happen when you decide that you're gonna write, and then it just happens a bit differently, and then you like maybe you make more demos, and then out of these demos you have like one song or I think I think because I'm a progressive like writer, so some of my heroes are like Genesis and like you know, like Peter Gabriel version of Genesis, and like Yes and Pink Floyd. And so I would go, when I try to do like something that's deliberate, I'll work on like a concept thing, like a rock opera, like a quadrophenia, like a Tommy type of thing, right? So then I actually have like a script. I try to write like a sound painting or a sound story. And so like, you know, you think about like bands like Rush, they're very deliberate. They're actually telling stories. And Pink Floyd, they're telling a story. So when I go to do something like that, like I might have like the song, or I'll be working on the structures and I'm trying to build it. But what I tend to do is okay, I'll have this general concept I'll try to build, and I'll be very deliberate about that. But then a lot of the overdubs and stuff might be more kind of
free form. I was like, well, I need to be in the right mood to write this part, and then and then you'll choose between, okay, the part I did on this date, this overdub piece is actually more what I wanted when I sat there trying to write it. It didn't come, and then later it came back. And so like you kind of learn, like you build structure and then you let kind of free form stuff happen, and you take a kind of hybrid of both. As you get better as a musician, you kind of figure out where you can be more deliberate and less deliberate.
Yeah, totally. I would say, like, for Easy, the single that I released yesterday, I'm very proud of it. I'm really happy with it.
That's a good song.
Thank you. That's a song that I wrote with Lover. So he's a producer. You should all go check him out. So that's the first song that it's the first session that we did together. So I kind of had this idea. I had like some words written down, and we met up and came up with the chords. I kind of like explained to him what I was going for, and then he came up with these chords. That's also something beautiful that I've like learned to do, is to work with other musicians, because if you're on your own and you're trying to get like inspiration and you're trying to write, sometimes that's really hard. So like I learned that it's nice as well to meet up with other people and get some new input. And I think my music really developed after I started doing that. And then I feel like the music is still me. It's coming from me and it feels like me, but it has like, different.
It's kind of like the difference when when I started, I was in bands, right? And the thing I liked about bands was like, I was always like a writer. So in my band, I come with like a demo, but like the drummer is going to do a better job on the drums than my drum machine, right? And my bass line, like a real bass player could take my keyboard bass line and like really elaborate it on it, right? And then maybe I have a guitar player on my piano, but when you take a chord off a piano and you put it on a guitar, it ends up being different, right? So like everybody would take my kind of demo, and what I liked about being in the band is like, here's like the rough draft of what I wanted, and then the band would kind of flesh it out, and then that was always like, wow, that's awesome. And I always like to do that kind of collaboration, like with a full band. Being a keyboard player, I kind of always want to be in a band. But sometimes I end up doing stuff by myself, and there's this kind of difference between my solo work and then the work I do with other people. And, you have more control over your own work, but then it's like the kind of happy accidents or things that happen when you work with people.
Exactly. It can be really like magic when two minds collide and like make something new.
So Easy, were you able to physically, because of COVID, did you actually be able to work together in the same room for Easy?
Yeah, I actually, like, we wrote it before COVID was even a thing. Like I've just been working on a lot of music, and I was also studying. I was studying audio engineering.
Awesome. That's
in the
cool
Netherlands. Yeah. I know, like, I really, at some point, I figured that if I wanted to take control over my music and if I wanted to do music, I had to depend on myself a little bit more, because I couldn't always be waiting for people to be ready to record me, or like, I don't know. I just wanted to be able to do more things myself.
I've been a control freak that way for like years. After my band kind of went away, I built my own home studio, and I'm kind of an analog guy, because I have like a bunch of Modes and Rolands and Yamahas and stuff. And I just decided I'm going to buy the equipment. I'm going to buy the mics. I'm going to buy the soundboards. I'm going to buy the record. And I'm kind of a hardware recorder. I use a lot of hardware recording stuff. So I'm kind of like, even though I can use a DAW, I tend to take my modes and I record them into like hardware recorders, just because I found like when you're recording like an analog synth or a modular synth, it's kind of like point in time. It's kind of like a painter, right? And when you have these analog modular synths, they kind of do different things every time you approach them. And if you're trying to do it on the grid, it's kind of pointless because the whole point is like the way these analog synths is kind of like working with another person. They kind of do different things all the time, and you can they can behave or sound, and so you kind of take advantage of it and kind of let it go. You kind of say, okay, I'll just let this instrument be what it is, and see what it's showing me, and then record it at a point in time, and then I can kind of replay it off the reel if I need to perform it. But
Reel?
it's just,
you mean like what's it called? Like
a
tape?
Yeah, tape.
Yeah. Okay,
I use tape,
cool.
and I use digital tape machines too.
Yeah,
But
Oh,
either way,
sweet.
it's just a different way of recording because it kind of gets this kind of. I'm kind of into jazz, like bands like Sun Ra or and Tangerine Dream, Davis, and there's structure in jazz, and there is a structure to the song, but there's a point where you go improvisation and you come back. You go do improvisation and you come back to the main theme, and it's kind of like progressive rock, and I think it's cool when you can control. When you can control your recording environment, then you don't have to wait for a studio to be able to come into it, or you can do your own thing. I think it's, especially during COVID, I think a lot of artists I've talked to have been doing what you're saying. They actually are learning recording engineering so they can master, or they can do the audio editing, so they can keep on doing their work.
Wow, that must be tough if COVID came and you can't work with people. Wow, it's tough. I'm lucky to have a studio and to be able to do my work still while COVID's going on. So I'm very, very lucky.
So Easy, you actually wrote Easy like before COVID?
Yeah. So like I was saying, I started school. I started studying audio engineering in Amsterdam. So that took some time. I think I wrote Easy was written while I was still studying. And while I was also still studying, I was like writing a lot of demos. Because the thing is that I used to do folk music. I used to like play the guitar and sing. That was my thing. But then after, like the guitar kind of stopped inspiring me so much that it did before. So I needed some other stimulation, or like I needed some other, how do you say it? New input or something.
Yeah, I think every musician, like they start on an instrument, right?
And
then they suddenly decide, well, it's like the Beatles. If you listen to the Beatles, and they help, and it's all guitar, right? And then suddenly they meet George Martin, and you start to get Revolver, and you get like you get Rubber Soul, and then you get Sgt. Pepper's, and you get the ability to like, okay, we can have all these other textures, right?
Totally.
So I think like Sgt. Pepper's is kind of like the same thing as the DAW, if you think about it, because like before that album, people weren't making those kind of choices, right? They weren't like doing backward tape loops. They weren't throwing in orchestra. They weren't doing all these experimental things with all the overdubs that George started doing, George Martin. And I think now everybody can kind of be their own George Martin. You can go into the DAW, and suddenly you have access. Hey, I want a Jupiter 8, or I want a mini Moog. I want an orchestra. I want to take some samples of somebody breaking glass, or I want to make like somebody talking, and I want to do a backward tape loop, or I want to do. So suddenly you can do all these layers, and suddenly it'd be more than just that folk singer in a pub. Because I think a lot of times you're a musician, right? You could just go in a club with your guitar or your piano and play it like Billy Joel or an Elton John, or play it like like Joni Mitchell. You could go out and just do it like that, and it's something pure about that. But after a while, it's like if you're a composer, right? You get bored and you say, well, I want to have a little more to this. I want to be able to do more, right? So
totally. So that's basically how I felt. Like so I got a lot of new inspiration from like meeting new people in my studies, for example, and here in the Netherlands. So I started like writing with people, and like new sounds came up, and that was super interesting. And basically I gathered like material for an album, and so that's why I didn't write Easy and release it right away. That's why I've been having it in my catalog for a while. and so it also almost feels weird to like release it.
Is it part of an album? Is it part of a bigger project that's going to come out?
It's part of a bigger project. Yeah. But so yeah, it's like definitely not a new song to me. So it's like
that's interesting because like fans sometimes don't know when they hear a new song from an artist.
Yeah.
That song for like 2 years. I mean, I've got songs that I just put out something that was like 5 years old. I had it and I didn't know if I could put it out. And then suddenly I had a bunch of other songs that kind of fit.
Yeah, exactly.
It actually fits this bunch of stuff I wrote in 2021. This thing from 5 years ago actually fits now. So then I put it in, and my fans wouldn't know that that was 5 years old.
It's just a new song to them.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because you have all these things as an artist. It's like, wow, you know, what you choose to reveal or what you continue to work on is kind of like, unless you go play live, then your fans might know. Because sometimes, like, what I liked about playing live is sometimes that's okay. Let me try this, and see what the fans do. Then I kind of know if I should keep on working on it.
Or makes sense.
If it's not working, because like try it one night like this. Nobody likes it. Try it another night like that, and they like it. So okay, now use that feedback.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah.
Sometimes I use SoundCloud for that. I'll throw stuff on SoundCloud, and suddenly, if I get thousands of people like it, and sometimes that's a good idea. I'll push it out further. But so then you can kind of the cool thing, like there's so many different things out there for as a musician where you can throw things out there, and you can even like pretend you're somebody else. I mean, I have some other pseudonyms that I'll put stuff out and then see if it works, and then go back and reclaim it as the ghost. I've seen other artists do that. Like there are artists that have done that, in the past. That's kind of an interesting thing to do.
I guess that's a bit difficult if you have your voice. I feel like your voice is kind of.
That's why I play with vocoders. I have a way to change my voice. So I might do a version of a song with a different voice than what is actually going to be on the final, but just to see if people like it, and then kind of rebrand it with a different thing. Just because I use a lot of tech that can do that kind of stuff. But it's harder. Like if you're, or another way to do it is you collaborate with somebody, right? You give them the song, and then you finally put your version out. Like so, somebody else actually sings your song, and then he's like, okay, well, does that work? And then see if you can put it out.
It's true. There's so many ways, like so many ways to do things. You shouldn't be scared to like explore them.
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about today. Is that the fact that you can do something like this. I can talk to you in the Netherlands, right? The way music, like we're outside the main industry now, right? We're outside the big labels, even though you might have distributors or whatever. But as these indie artists, we can choose to do things like it could be back 20 years ago. If I was on a label, my label might say, I can't talk to you, right? Because you're a competitor, you're in a different way. They don't want me talking. So they kind of control artists. And now, if I want to work with a hip hop guy, if I want to work with somebody who's doing like EDM, if I want to work with a country music guy and play something on side, it doesn't matter. Like as long as they don't, their manager says I can do. If they have a manager or something, as long as they don't stop me,
you
can do whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, are you going to do a video for Easy?
I think I am actually. That wasn't the plan. So actually, like all the songs that I've released have a music video. I have like 7-8 songs now out, and I thought, this song. I thought, okay, I'm like I have a lot on my mind. I'm like finishing up some stuff, so I thought I'll just go a little bit more easy on this release.
Are you going to work with the same director that worked with you on other ones, or do you work with different directors?
So there's this guy called Alex, or he has a artist name Bass. You should also check him out. So he he's been working with me on some visual content for my songs. So like, he's a really good friend to have for that. Like, I'm about to release something. I ask him, "Hey Alex, what do you think about this?" And he'll be like, "It's good. I like it. Go for it." Or he'll be like, let me try doing this one thing, and then he like makes it way better than what I came up with. So
do you like storyboard your videos out? Do you like have a plan, or do you kind of work with your director to kind of do that?
I'm very like hands-on. I have a really how do you say it? I have a lot of ideas for the visuals for my music myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be because my mom trained me to do it. She would like sometimes play the piano for me. She would tell me, "Go lay down on the sofa," when I was like 4, maybe. "Lay down on the sofa, I'm gonna play the song, and you're gonna close your eyes and tell me what images come up in your mind."
Well, that's a cool thing. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah. So
be
she
a
really,
director.
yeah.
Go into film from that.
Exactly, yeah. So she really trained that in me, I think, to like connect sounds with visuals. So I always, like, for every single song, basically, I think that's always a good mark. How do you say it?
Yeah, I think it's a good. Yeah, that's. I think even as a songwriter, if you think visually, I think a lot of songs actually have like visual aspects, and as you're writing a song, you kind of like, as a writer, you kind of put those into your song, kind of thinking of them as like a sound painting or like a sound film. Like I think every songwriter kind of imagines in their mind the video without even producing a video.
Exactly. Yeah.
What they're trying to say.
Yeah, and I think if I can't associate my song with a video or like with some visual content, then I'm not connecting with the song, basically.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. So I thought for this song I just wouldn't make a music video. But then I sat down with Alex, my friend, and we went through some old material, and we were just gonna cut some like canvas for Spotify or like some stuff.
Oh yeah.
But
canvas
I think
is cool. That's a cool new thing.
Yeah, I know. So I think a music video is being born, but
yeah, you never know, because I've done the same thing. Sometimes I have a lot of visuals for my songs. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll do a live performance from my studio, and then I'll film it, and then I'll go and embed a bunch of effects on it. I'll go and take a live cut of something that I did, and then I'll go and I'll speed it up or slow it down or cut into it, and then throw a bunch of effects on it, overlay it, and then turn that into like a music video. They actually came from like a live performance, or I'll have something more psychedelic. It's more like Andy Warhol, kind of weird, or MCR Escher or something, like where I just take a lot of like strange. It's kind of like the way a synthesis, you do this modulation stuff. It's all these weird sounds. Since I do a lot of strange like synthesis, I try to take my art when I do my music and make it kind of like visual synthesis. So it's kind of psychedelic. It's kind of trippy, but it's like, I'm not trying to condone that, but it's just kind of what the feel of my music has.
Yeah.
A natural kind of weirdness to it, so I just do it.
Yeah. And you say you have live shows. Do you have a lot of live shows now?
I do a lot of stuff from my home studio. I just do live. I used to play in New York and Boston, but we still can't do that in the US.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of equipment in my studio where I can actually do live performances and put them out. Yeah. And so I do like a lot of times what I like to do as a musician, because I can't connect with other musicians as much right now. It's amazing. I have done collaborations where somebody sends me like a file and then I overdub it and they send it back and we doing it over the net. But what I like to do is live performance, because if I do a live performance, it's like I can't stop and start. So I got to go with it, right? So if I go and do a live show, it's live, so I got to go with whatever it is. I can't, let me just start that again. So it kind of forces you as an improvisational musician to kind of come up with ideas, and I'll go back and listen to what I just did and then find the songs, and then go take that live material and use that to kind of create new music, which is a cool, you know, I've been a big fan of bands like Parliament Funkadelic and the Allman Brothers, and like a lot of 70s bands that had these long performances. And so I like to kind of get into long form music rather than short form music. It's kind of where my head's at. I'm not trying to be super commercial, but yeah, like a lot of what I like is kind of rooted in songs that might go 8 or 10 minutes long, you know, which is not standard stuff. But when you play live audience like that kind of thing. So it's a different type of audience I'm kind of going for.
Yeah. I've done a few live concerts. I always think it's so weird to not see the audience, like you're trying to connect with people.
You're doing like a web show?
Yeah. I've done like one here in the studio.
Cool.
It's nice, you know, like you see the comments, you see people commenting and stuff.
But I guess it's hard for the feedback. Like I talked to a band from Chicago, and they were saying they had a hard time trying to go live from their studio because a lot of rock bands, they kind of build off the audience. If you know, even like a folk singer would have the same problem. Like if you're just an acoustic player, right, or you're a band, like everybody, you kind of feed off the audience. I mean, when I go to Boston or New York, I mean, I feed on my performance is probably totally different if I'm in New York City and I'm playing in a club. And I usually only play clubs like 300-400 people, but it's like that feel. I actually like the small size audience because then you feel like they're really connected and they're not that far away from you. Right, as in a bigger place, and so then you really, it makes you play to the audience, and I do miss that because of COVID, because I can't do that.
I like, I've been fine with. Yeah, it would be nice to do some gigs for sure, but this COVID thing kind of like, forces you to just like I said, I'm really lucky to have a studio, so I've been working a lot on recording and finishing up recordings.
So do you think, one thing I've asked people about, because I've been interviewing through all of COVID, is because of COVID, like a lot of musicians, like if you thought about like a musician that's like really a working musician, most of their time is touring, right? And then they record, right? And now it's kind of flipped, where most of your time now can be recording rather than touring. And so every band I talked to in the last year has been like, well, now I can actually work on that idea that I never had enough time for, right? Or I can go actually learn another instrument. Like I can go and learn how to play keyboard. I'm a guitar player. I want to learn how to do keyboard because I want to write songs, like on top of what I can do on my guitar. And or you get somebody who's like, well, I want to learn bass, or I want to learn production, or I want to learn how to do a modular synth, or I want to do, get back into trumpet or sax because I used to do it, and now I want to bring that back. So it seems like, even though the pandemic's been terrible, for a lot of creative people I've talked to, is they've kind of taken it as, wow, I actually have some time to actually work on my craft at a level maybe I didn't have before.
Totally.
Do you find that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of gave me more time to just work on what I'm working on, like my music, the album that I'm putting together. So it would have probably I would have probably felt some pressure to tour or plan tours in the summer, but now it's like there's no pressure. So now I don't have to worry myself with that, basically.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's probably going to be the hard thing when we actually go and tour again, is if bands and artists that have had time to work on a project, and it's like, I don't have to get this done and recorded in like 2 weeks because that's all the time I got. That you spend like 3 months on something where you get back into the old world. It's like, you got to get that done in a week.
Totally.
Because like that's what it is.
Exactly. I wonder what's gonna happen, how things are if things are gonna go back to the same, or if it's gonna take some time, or like if people kind of more adjusted to this way, this new way.
Yeah, well, what problem we have in the U.S. is a lot of venues that haven't been able to stay open. Some of them have closed like permanently. So when it comes back, it's like we got less places to play than we had.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other part is, are the fans gonna come back at the level they were? And it was kind of it's kind of like that was the main way for, at least in the US, for most musicians to make money is to do the tour circuit. And if you have less places and then you still have less people, because even if things get better, they might only open at 75%, 60% capacity. Yeah. And then you're like, well, how am I going to afford to do this tour at 60% capacity, and I got to pay for my own transportation and all this other stuff? So this, it's harder.
Maybe this forces the music industry to pay more for streaming. Who knows? That would be the dream.
There are some places that just started to do that. Like I saw that like Apple increased their rate. And then I heard like SoundCloud just increased their royalty rate.
Yeah. I don't think it's kind of a shame, like this pressure on touring and merchandise, because that seems to be the way
today
of making money. But like both of these things are not great if you think about like the environment, for example.
Yeah,
like, that's something that I've struggled with, wanting to be a musician and make my living out of music, but then the things that you actually have to do to make money, they're like not great for the environment.
Yeah, well, having to go sell T-shirts and buttons and posters.
Yeah, and then you go
versus like just selling your music.
Yeah, just making music and selling the music. That would be
all this extra plastic. You put all this stuff in plastic. You got to find. Well, I don't want plastic covering on my CD.
Yeah.
You sell like a vinyl, like don't put it in plastic. Use a paper bag.
Exactly.
It's hard to try to be conscious of those things and still make money, because the way things are not geared. Exactly. Like the cheapest thing is full of plastic, and then you're like, I don't want all that plastic.
I've been doing some research, so if anybody's out there listening and is also like thinking about the same things, people that wanna do things in a more environmental friendly way, then I found a vinyl company that presses vinyl on like recycled vinyl, basically.
Oh yeah, send me that.
I'll send you the link, definitely.
We'll push that. We talked to tons of artists, and like you just mentioned, vinyl is one of the ways that as indie artists we actually can make money, and doing it in a more environmentally conscious way. It's really cool. So send that to me, because a lot of the artists I talk to every time I talk to them, everybody wants to do vinyl. So
great, that's perfect. And also I found this company, Merge company, that or like print company basically. So what I didn't like the idea about making merch is that you have to like print. Let's say maybe you print 100 T-shirts, and then what if you sell 10? Then you just have like a bunch of T-shirts.
So I found
and I found this company, and they make how do you say it? Earth friendly is what they call them. T-shirts, and only by demand. So if you
on demand. That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you sell only 5 T-shirts, then that's okay.
Yeah. Send that too, because a lot of artists because one of the things we're talking about with all the artists we've been talking about is actually doing an online festival, right?
Oh, sweet.
And then on that online festival, like everybody, like we have since 2018, we've interviewed maybe 55, 60 people across the world. And so far we've talked about maybe 10 of the artists we've talked to have agreed that they would do some kind of live performance as like part of like a Phantom Electric Ghost like show, because basically the show would be every artist we ever interviewed, if they want to be on that festival, we'd run it maybe over a couple of days in different time zones, like you're the Netherlands time zone. We've actually talked to maybe like 10 artists from like Iceland, Netherlands area. We've
Okay,
talked
okay,
to artists like in London and Australia. So for based on the different time zones, the different artists
Yeah.
would actually do shows like 15, 20-minute set.
Sweet. Sounds
And
really
then,
good.
yeah, and then if you had like your merch, right? If you had
Yeah,
your
yeah.
vinyl, we run a little segment saying, hey, if you want your vinyl for easy, if you have one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We go post it like in between the intermission between one band and the next.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then each band could kind of have their wherever their merch is popping up on the show to kind of self-fund. And we're trying to see if we can get other companies to jump in. Cause I have some people who sponsor me, you know, like CBD companies and companies that sell like other things. But that's something we think, because we know if as indie musicians, you know, we can't always wait for some big festival to invite us. Sometimes maybe we got to create our own.
Yeah, totally.
Create our own, and then maybe the big guys will come and like, oh, maybe they want to be part of that.
Yeah, totally. I'm totally down. Do you know when you're gonna do this?
I'm trying to do it for this year, but it might creep into next year. But I do want to try to get something done this year. And if people are still kind of not able to tour, then I might have a better chance doing it this year than next year. So
Totally.
I'll get back to you on it. I'm working on it.
Cool.
But yeah, this is really cool to I think we're kind of near the most people don't want to watch us past an hour. So we hit
that's true. Yeah, we hit an hour and 1 minute, 2 minutes. Yeah.
But I really thank you for being on the show. It's like this is gonna. It's been on our Twitch, our YouTube, and our Facebook. We'll send you the links. We are going to convert to audio, and this will be on Spotify, Apple, Radio Public. There's like 11 different platforms. This will go out as an audio only. We'll send you like the top 3, like the Spotify, the Apple, and maybe Radio Public.
Nice.
So it's,
I wonder if I'm gonna listen back. That's always weird to listen to yourself.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I used to listen back almost everyone, but then I got so busy I can't. I maybe one out of 5 I go back and listen to it. But yeah, it's just cool to have. You know, some people like to listen in their car or on the airport or somewhere where they can't watch it, so they just want to hear it. So it gives them the audio version. Yeah, but thank you for being on the show. When your album is ready to drop, let us know. And like you said, we definitely want to do that online festival. So we'll have you be on there if you perform from your studio. If you have your studio, you probably you're all set to perform from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was very nice talking to you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And yeah, everybody go stream my new song, of course. Easy.
Well, these links will be on here on the permanent version, so they'll have.
Nice. You can.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay, talk to you again. We'll end up working together again. I know. Okay. Bye.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Have a good day.